At 6:14 in the morning, a Jennie-O Turkey Store service technician pulls his truck onto the gravel access road of a contract grower's farm in Condeohe County, Minnesota. The farm holds 4 turkey barns. Each barn is 60 feet wide and 500 feet long. Each holds 7,500 broad-breasted white toms at day 98 of a 112-day grow-out. The birds weigh approximately 36 pounds each. They came in as day-old poults 14 weeks ago, arrived in a Jennie-O delivery truck from the Willmar hatchery, and have eaten Jennie-O feed from Jennie-O formulated rations delivered by Jennie-O trucks every 3 days for the past 98 days. The technician is here because one of the 4 barns flagged elevated mortality in last night's check. 14 birds dead in a single house against a baseline of 2 to 3. Not catastrophic, not yet. But 11 more dead than normal in a barn holding 7,500 birds at 36 pounds. Each represents a problem worth investigating at 6:14 in the morning, before it becomes a problem worth reporting to the state veterinarian. Condeohe County, west central Minnesota, the flat glacial lake country where the Minnesota turkey industry concentrated through the latter half of the 20th century as the contract growing model spread through the same agricultural communities that had been farming small grains for generations and were looking for a higher margin enterprise that worked with the same rural land and labor base. Jennie-O Turkey Store, owned by Hormel Foods, operates one of the largest integrated turkey production systems in the United States. Centered in Minnesota, with facilities extending into Wisconsin and surrounding states, the system coordinates approximately 500 contract growers, raising around 9 million turkeys annually. The company owns the breeder flocks, the hatcheries, the feed mills, and the processing facilities at Willmar and other Minnesota locations. It produces the whole birds, ground turkey, and deli meat products that carry the Jennie-O brand to retail and food service customers across the country. 9 million turkeys. One state, one system, the broad-breasted white turkey that dominates commercial production, including every bird in Jennie-O's 500 grower network, is a genetic artifact of selection pressure that no longer resembles the bird's wild ancestor in any commercially significant way. The eastern wild turkey, the species from which all domestic turkeys descend, produces eggs seasonally, reaches 16 to 24 pounds at full maturity over a multi-year lifespan, and reproduces naturally through courtship behaviors that the wild bird's social structure supports. The broad-breasted white commercial turkey produces eggs on an artificial lighting program, reaches 16 to 38 pounds in 14 to 22 weeks depending on the market weight target, and cannot reproduce naturally at all. The breast muscle mass that commercial selection maximized over decades shifted the bird's center of gravity forward to the point where natural mating, a process requiring the tom to mount the hen, physically injures the hen and produces inadequate fertility rates. Every commercial turkey in Jennie-O's system was conceived through artificial insemination. The AI program that manages reproduction in Jennie-O's breeder flocks runs on a weekly schedule. Trained technicians collect semen from the tom breeder flock, a separate population of males maintained specifically for reproduction, and inseminate the hen breeders within the 30-minute viability window that turkey semen requires between collection and use. The hen's reproductive tracts store viable semen for up to 2 weeks, so a weekly insemination schedule maintains fertility rates adequate for commercial hatch rates. The fertile eggs produced by those breeder hens move from Jennie-O's breeder farms to the Willmar hatchery within 24 to 48 hours of lay. Turkey incubation runs 28 days, 7 days longer than the broiler chicken's 21-day cycle, with setter incubators at 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit for the first 25 days and hatcher incubators for the final 3 days. At day 28, the poults emerge and within hours are boxed for delivery to the 500 contract grower farms in Jennie-O's Minnesota and Wisconsin network. The fragility of day-old turkey poults during the first week of life is the production risk that the hatchery-to-farm delivery sequence must manage. Unlike day-old broiler chicks, which actively seek feed and water within hours of hatch, turkey poults require more deliberate management to begin eating and drinking, a behavioral difference that can produce first-week mortality events when the transition from hatchery to farm goes poorly. The delivery trucks that carry Jennie-O poults from Willmar maintain compartment temperatures at 85 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit. The contract grower who receives 7,500 poults at 6 a.m. must have the barn at temperature, the feeders charged, the water lines flushed and running, and the colored marbles in the founts that attract the poult's attention to the water source before a single bird touches the barn floor. The 500 contract growers in Jennie-O's network span the agricultural counties of west central and southern Minnesota, Condeohe, Stearns, Meeker, Swift, Renville, and extend into Wisconsin's turkey production regions. They operate under contract terms structured around the same fundamental division of inputs and risk that broiler contract growing uses, with modifications that reflect the turkey's specific production characteristics. Jennie-O provides the poults, the feed, the veterinary services, the technical support, and the guaranteed market. The grower provides the facilities, turkey barns built to Jennie-O specifications for width, length, ventilation capacity, and equipment, the land, the utilities, and the labor. A turkey barn built to hold 7,500 toms represents a construction investment of $400,000 to $700,000 depending on size and equipment specification. A 4-barn operation has committed $1.6 million to $2.8 million in facilities to raise Jennie-O's birds. The production cycle on a turkey grow-out farm runs longer than a broiler cycle and varies more by market type. Jennie-O's product mix, whole birds, ground turkey, deli meats, requires different market weights from different grow-out lengths. Hen turkeys reach 15 to 17 pounds in approximately 14 to 16 weeks. Toms for further processing reach 38 to 45 pounds in 18 to 22 weeks. As the farm that holds 7,500 toms at day 98 in Condeohe County is in the middle of the grow-out calendar for the processing plant's further processing line. These birds will deboned into ground turkey and turkey breast roasts, not sold as whole birds. The Thanksgiving whole bird market creates the production calendar constraint that makes turkey growing unlike any other poultry enterprise. Approximately 46 million whole turkeys reach American tables during Thanksgiving week. Holiday. Working backward from the holiday, The majority are whole bird toms in the 16 to 24-pound range that consumers expect to find at retail in the 6 weeks before the holiday. Working backward from Thanksgiving, a 20-pound whole bird at market requires 16 to 18 weeks of grow-out. That means placement in late June or early July, the hottest weeks of the Minnesota summer, to reach market weight in October for pre-Thanksgiving retail delivery. July placement in Minnesota means poults arriving at barns when ambient temperatures regularly exceed 90 degrees Fahrenheit. A 7,500 bird barn designed for the 28-degree February nights that Minnesota produces must also manage the positive pressure ventilation that pushes hot July air through the building fast enough to keep the birds below heat stress threshold. Birds in heat stress stop eating, lose weight, and die at elevated rates that cost the grower settlement performance and cost Jennie-O bird inventory. The ventilation engineering that handles both extremes of Minnesota's climate is not an amenity. It is the infrastructure that makes the Thanksgiving production calendar commercially viable. The feed mills that Jennie-O operates as part of its vertical integration supply, the rations that sustain 9 million turkeys across multiple grow-out cycles running simultaneously at 500 farms. Turkey nutritional requirements differ from broiler requirements in specific ways that the feed mill's formulation team manages with separate ration programs. Turkey poults require higher niacin levels than broiler chicks because the turkey has a lower capacity to synthesize niacin from tryptophan. A niacin deficiency in the starter ration produces leg deformity and mortality in the first weeks of the grow-out that cannot be corrected after the fact. The starter ration's niacin specification at 70 to 80 parts per million compared to broiler starter at 35 to 45 parts per million reflects this species-specific requirement. The protein levels in turkey rations run higher than broiler rations across all grow-out phases because the turkey's greater lean muscle mass development demands more amino acid supply. Turkey starter rations at 28% crude protein. Turkey grower rations at 26%, developer at 22%, and finisher at 18% step down in protein as the bird ages and its protein accretion rate slows. The same phase feeding logic that broiler rations use, but at higher absolute levels throughout. At 9 million turkeys consuming feed across grow-out cycles that run 14 to 22 weeks, the daily feed demand across the full active growing inventory reaches hundreds of thousands of pounds. The feed mill logistics that route delivery trucks to 500 farms on schedules matched to each farm's current flock age and consumption rate operate at the same logistical complexity that any integrated poultry system's feed delivery requires, with the additional complexity that turkey feed consumption per bird per day increases dramatically as 7,500 birds grow from 1-pound poults to 36-pound toms over 100 days. A 7,500 bird barn of 2-week-old poults, averaging 1.2 pounds each, consumes a fraction of what the same barn at week 14 requires, when each bird weighs 32 pounds, and the combined daily consumption runs to thousands of pounds of finisher ration. The delivery schedule that served this barn in week 2 is inadequate in week 12. The logistics system must track each farm's current age and consumption rate and increase delivery frequency accordingly. The Jennie-O processing facilities at Willmar and other Minnesota locations handle the harvest and conversion of 9 million turkeys annually into the whole birds, ground turkey, and deli products that carry the brand to national retail and food service distribution. Processing turkey differs from processing broiler chicken in scale and in the specific automated systems the heavier, longer-bodied bird requires. A tom turkey at 38 to 45 pounds requires evisceration equipment calibrated for its larger body cavity, hanging systems designed for the heavier shackle weight, and scalding tank parameters appropriate for the bird's larger thermal mass. The broiler processing equipment that runs 140 birds per minute does not directly transfer to turkey processing. The systems are designed for different throughputs measured in hundreds rather than thousands per hour. Jennie-O's Willmar processing complex includes both slaughter and fabrication operations that produce the full product range the brand requires. Whole bird processing, the segment that peaks October through November for Thanksgiving retail, requires the plant to receive, process, chill, and package birds that move into retail frozen storage months before the consumer encounters them. Or the plant that processes Thanksgiving whole birds in October operates on a production calendar that must be filled with the correct market weight inventory from contract grower farms whose placement schedules working 16 to 18 weeks back were set in late June and early July. Whole bird chilling for a 20-pound fresh frozen turkey requires substantially longer chill times than a 6-pound broiler. The thermal mass of a 20-pound bird resists temperature reduction in ways that a smaller bird does not. Immersion, chilling, in commercial turkey processing typically runs 4 to 8 hours for whole birds depending on weight, compared to 45 to 60 minutes for broilers. The blast freezing that produces the frozen whole birds that appear in retail cases by mid-October requires temperatures of minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit or colder to bring the deep breast muscle of a 20-pound turkey from chill temperature to frozen solid within a commercially viable time frame. The further processing lines that produce ground turkey, turkey breast roasts, turkey deli meats, and the branded convenience products in Jennie-O's product portfolio operate year-round at volumes that don't track the Thanksgiving seasonality of the whole bird lines. A ground turkey, Jennie-O's largest product category by volume in non-holiday periods, requires the mechanical deboning and grinding sequence that converts turkey skeletal muscle into the uniform ground product that retail consumers use in place of ground beef for burgers, meatballs, and taco meat. The automated deboning systems that Jennie-O's further processing lines run convert whole turkey carcasses and parts into the boneless meat forms that ground turkey and turkey breast roasts begin with. Mechanical separation for ground turkey uses high-pressure equipment that forces turkey carcass frames. The skeletal remnant after the primary breast and thigh muscles have been removed through fine hold screens under pressure, almost recovering fine muscle particles adherent to the bone surfaces in a paste that USDA regulations define as mechanically separated turkey. This product, combined with hand-trimmed dark meat and trim from the fabrication lines, enters the grinding and blending system that produces ground turkey at specific fat percentages, 93% lean, 85% lean, that the retail product labels specify. Turkey breast deboning for breast roasts and deli whole breast products uses a different approach. whole turkey breasts or boneless breast muscles move through automated deboning equipment that removes the keel bone, ribs, and wing bones from the breast section while maintaining the integrity of the breast muscle itself. A whole boneless turkey breast that retains the muscle's structural integrity can be rolled, netted, and sold as a turkey roast or sliced as deli meat in ways that mechanically separated product cannot. The deli meat program at Jennie-O requires whole muscle cooked turkey breast products that the slicing and packaging equipment in Jennie-O's further processing facilities or at the deli operator's slicing station can cut into the thin, uniform slices that retail deli counters and food service sandwich programs require. A turkey breast cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit internal temperature, cooled, vacuum sealed, and sliced maintains the texture and slice integrity that the deli counter demands only if the cooking, chilling, and slicing parameters were controlled precisely throughout. Hormel Foods' ownership of Jennie-O Turkey Store since 2001 provides the brand infrastructure and national distribution network that converts Minnesota turkey production into shelf presence at retail accounts across the country. Jennie-O's brand positioning, centered on lean protein, convenience, and the everyday use of turkey products beyond the annual Thanksgiving whole bird, represents a marketing strategy that Hormel has built over 2 decades to reduce the brand's revenue dependence on the 6-week Thanksgiving sales peak. Ground turkey sold year-round for weeknight cooking. Turkey burgers marketed to health-conscious consumers replacing beef. Turkey breakfast sausage competing in the morning protein segment. These products extend the 9 million bird annual production system's commercial output across all 52 weeks of the year, rather than concentrating revenue in a brief November window. The national distribution infrastructure that Hormel's broader operation provides, the retail buyer relationships, the distribution center network, plus the broker and distributor coverage that puts product into grocery chains in markets where Jennie-O has no direct sales presence, allows Minnesota turkey production to reach retail shelves in Florida, Texas, California, and the Northeast without Jennie-O building its own national logistics infrastructure. The brand sits inside a parent company whose distribution capability was built for Spam, Hormel chili, and dozens of other shelf-stable and refrigerated products, and that infrastructure carries Jennie-O turkey products as part of the broader Hormel sales and distribution system. The service technician in Kandiyohi County at 6:14 in the morning finds the problem in Barn 3 within 20 minutes of entry. The drinker line in the northeast corner has a water pressure drop, a nipple drinker clogged with mineral scale that reduced flow to approximately 40% of normal. The 800 birds in that corner of the barn were water-stressed for an estimated 18 hours before the grower's nightly check caught the elevated mortality. Water-stressed turkeys at week 14 and 36 pounds stop eating. Internal temperature rises. Birds that were marginal on heat stress in the July conditions of week 8 are robust at week 14. But water restriction kills at any age. The technician clears the line, checks pressure at 12 additional points in the barn, and documents the event. In the mortality report goes to Jennie-O's flock health team. The 14 dead birds represent $840 in lost bird value at current settlement rates, a number the grower absorbs because the contract's mortality tolerance clause covers this event at this frequency. But the technician's documentation also triggers a drinker system inspection across the other 15 farms in his territory that run the same nipple drinker model with comparable mineral deposit histories. 9 million turkeys, 500 farms. The problems that matter at scale are the ones that appear in one barn today and in 3 barns next week if the response stops at barn 3. The service technician's truck is back on the county road by 7:40 a.m. The next farm is 14 miles north. The flock there is at day 46. Same system, different moment. 9 million turkeys annually. From the Willmar hatchery's 28-day biological clock to the Thanksgiving whole bird in a retail case in November to the ground turkey package on a Tuesday in March. The Jennie-O system that Hormel Foods built around Minnesota's turkey-growing tradition produces a national brand from a specific geography's specific agricultural capacity. So the 500 growers in that system farm the same west-central Minnesota landscape that their parents farmed for small grains before the contract turkey model offered a higher margin alternative. The Willmar processing complex that anchors the system has operated in Kandiyohi County long enough to have shaped the local economy, the local workforce, and the local relationship between industrial agriculture and the rural communities it operates within. The integration that connects a day-old poult at a Willmar hatchery to a Jennie-O package at a grocery store in Atlanta passes through every point of the system. The breeder flock AI program, the 28-day incubation cycle, the 500-farm grow-out network, the Thanksgiving production calendar that sends poults to barns in July heat, the further processing lines that run 52 weeks a year, converting turkey muscle into ground product and deli meat and convenience items that carried a brand beyond November. At 6:14 in the morning, a technician found a clogged drinker line and fixed it. That is what 9 million looks like from inside. If this detailed look at the breeder AI programs, hatchery operations, Thanksgiving production calendar, further processing automation, and Hormel brand infrastructure behind Jennie-O Turkey Store's 9 million bird Minnesota system gave you a clearer picture of how the largest integrated turkey operation in the United States actually functions from genetics to grocery shelf. Hit the like button and help the algorithm find more viewers who want this level of operational detail. Subscribe for more deep dives into the production systems behind the food brands Americans encounter every day. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from, and tell us whether you think about where your Thanksgiving turkey came from when you're carving it.